KNUS Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Nine a.m. in the Mile High City on this Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. The text message line, very hot. If you're trying to call in, sorry, it's a system-wide issue. It's nothing to do with us. It's just that the phones are having problems. So, text message us at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Again, this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear, so thank you to everybody that's texting in. This hour, the bridge to nowhere takes a nosedive.
Yeah, this is great.
Goodbye. Bridge to nowhere, the $8 million, $9 million, what, 18, 19, what, $29 million bridge? Who knows? This thing just kept going up and up and up. Governor Jared Polis wanting to build the Colorado 150 pedestrian walkway to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the state. And people voted 93.9% voted no. Over 80,000 people participated in just 5 days. I'm guessing 80,000 people or 80,000 votes because, as we pointed out, the gold standard of elections, you were allowed to vote multiple times. So we took advantage of that, and we'll never know the true results of this election, other than the fact that it was very clearly rejected by the people of Colorado. And in light of all the division, it's kind of nice to have something that brings us together. And in this case, a strong no on a $28 million boondoggle of a pedestrian bridge in Civic Center Park. We're going to talk about that this hour. Feel free to text us if you'd like. Again, 720-819-5115 is the text line. All right, now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Wednesday morning, 74 with some clouds in Denver, expecting a high of 83 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
As you headed into Trump Tower that day, were you nervous?
Yes.
FBI Director James Comey was with a group of intelligence agency heads briefing the president-elect and his top aides on how the Russians interfered in our election.
Barry had them all on the same page, pushing the huge lie and trying to destroy DJT and the will of the American people since 2016. They've been doing this. Probably 2015, honestly. Everybody in on it. George Snuffleupagus interviewing so seriously the seashell collector, James Comey, the former FBI director. He was so devastated after getting fired by 47. Yeah, because you're a crook. You're a fraud. Listen to this fraud. What a putz. He and Barry are so fake.
President-elect Trump's first question was to confirm that it had no impact on the election. The intelligence community does intelligence. The White House does PR and spin.
You also said you were struck by what they didn't ask.
Very much. No one, to my recollection, asked, so what's coming next from the Russians? How might we stop it? What's the future look like? It was...
Oh, my God. And it goes on and on and on. And that's why Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has to cuff this guy, Barry, or one of the goons, or we don't have a nation anymore. And remember, listen to David Smear. Remember him? You know, the jackwagon who puts clothespins on the back of his jacket to make himself look svelte and in shape. Listen how he just globs on the drama. This is 2 years, once again, the same story after the lie was created by Barry, the serious anchorman voice, and with this freaking lie about Russia and the sense of urgency. Here's David Smear.
James Comey's explosive first interview since being fired by the president. The former FBI director describing in stunning and sometimes in graphic detail.
Stunning and sometimes graphic detail.
The conversations he says he had with the president, the private dinner, and the unverified dossier that Comey says the president was fixated on. In particular, the most salacious allegation contained in that dossier. Tonight, what we never heard from James Comey before.
What we never heard from James Comey before.
One-on-one with George Stephanopoulos.
What a joke. Is so gross. I mean, there were hours and hours and hours of that.
But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they look. He's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries.
And in case you didn't hear 24 hours ago on this station, the DOJ working to set up a meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's criminal partner. Maxwell serving a 20-year prison sentence on sex trafficking charges. Governor Polis actually doing the right thing, scrapping proposed plans for a nearly $30 million pedestrian bridge to Colorado's state capital. Polis says the overwhelming response in opposition after a public survey showed nearly 94% of respondents said no, helps set the state's spending priorities.
How can we make sure that every precious state dollar we have goes to the best purpose? I think other people cared about where it was, what it looked like. We didn't dig down on why. I mean, you're going to hear a bunch of answers on why. Certainly, we need to spend every state dollar the best we can.
One of the stupidest ideas ever. Ozzy Osbourne has passed away at the age of 76, and we got to go with Billy again. Billy, what do you think that reality show did for Ozzy's legacy?
See, the Osbournes, what we forget about is the Osbournes are on the cusp, on the front end of reality TV. There weren't these type of family shows. You had Big Brother, you had Survivor. MTV had done Real World, so they had the scenario. But this idea of, following a family or getting in on this level was totally different. And it's MTV that broke them. They were getting like 5 million views a week or so, which is huge, especially for MTV and for reality TV, because at the time, remember, reality TV is a fad. Still going strong, but at the time it was viewed as a fad. And it made Ozzy relevant to a new generation of kids, in part because he was hilarious. In fact, the producers on the show say you could watch Ozzy make a milkshake for 3 minutes, and it would be the funniest thing simply because of who he is and the frustration. They did, however, say that both Ozzy and Sharon cursed a heck of a lot more on air than they did off air. They said that Ozzy didn't lie, didn't say as many curse words when they weren't filming. They said that was part of the, quote unquote performance for the show because it was so funny. The other one that I think people forget is, again, Ozzy has 2 kids from an earlier marriage, but with Sharon, he's got 3. The oldest daughter didn't participate. Amy refused to participate because she is so guarded and so private. So you had Kelly and Jack. Kelly's the middle, Jack's the baby. And Amy, who's the oldest, actually moved out of the house while they were filming because she didn't want to be part of it. So imagine that as far as a family dynamic where you've got 3 kids living with you. You've got all the scratch that you need so you can take care of the kids. And then one of them comes to you and says, I can't live with you right now because of this TV show and because of this job you're doing, and wants to move out. So that's always been some tension there.
Wow.
The other kids kind of leaned into it and have done well. But, Sharon and Ozzy have been fantastic about, how and why and letting Amy be as private as possible. They didn't push her. They didn't say, come on, Amy, we need all the kids. They were like, okay. And they just let it go. In fact, they never mention Amy inside of the show to respect that privacy. Also, side note, famous song, the slowest song that Ozzy probably ever releases is Mama, I'm Coming Home. Do you know where the inspiration from that song comes from?
Mama, I'm coming home. From her, from the oldest daughter.
No, from Sharon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mama, I'm Coming Home was the line that Ozzy used to tell Sharon on the last day of the tour.
Oh,
that's the entire
cool.
inspiration of the song is a message to his wife. Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when you're going back, remember, this is the Prince of Darkness, the guy that snorts ants and has done some other lascivious things. But he has a heart. Because you go back, you listen to Mama, I'm Coming Home, understand he's talking to Sharon.
Yep.
Changes the song. Changes the song. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, we'll find out.
I got a million of them.
We'll find out what rock star dies tonight, and you'll do the same thing tomorrow morning. Okay?
Yes, I will.
Thanks, Billy. Brian Koberger, who admitted to killing 4 University of Idaho college students in 2022, will be formally sentenced later today. He's expected to be sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences with no ability to appeal. All right, the Rockies in getaway day today at 1:10 at Coors Field. They beat the Cardinals last night 8-4. They'll see if they can win another one today. 73 in Northglenn, 72 in Lone Tree, 74 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on this Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast going to be partly cloudy across the Denver metro and front range. Scattered afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms. Cooler today in the middle and upper 80s with middle and upper 80s Thursday. Scattered showers and storms through the afternoon and evening tomorrow, then trending isolated Friday with highs lower 90s. Mainly dry this weekend with sunshine, highs mid-90s. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691 or visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. The bridge to nowhere is no longer, at least for now. That's some of the text message questions, though. Do you think they're going to build this bridge?
No.
I don't think they are either.
Well, not according to our brave governor.
Who's going to chain himself?
Yes. In fact, okay, we're going to talk about this, but I want to just preface this, Jeff. I have found, and I don't often shout out, other hosts on other radio stations, but Ryan Warner over at Colorado Public Radio did a great job pushing back on Polis. I found the audio a little bit long. I wish that I had time to edit out, some pieces to have it. But this is the conversation where Polis says he is going to chain himself down to prevent the bridge from being built. And again, we'll get into it. But Ryan has a nice response. And then you will hear our governor being the typical politician. So it's kind of fun. We'll play that in a bit.
Oh, I thought you were going to play it now.
I can play it now. Yeah, if you want me to.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Play it now.
Okay, here. Okay, now I think I've got this in the right place, and this is a little bit long, but this is Ryan Warner from Colorado Public Radio talking to Jared Polis. Now, our governor did not know that he was going to get into such a difficult conversation. And remember, earlier in this conversation, Jared proudly proclaims that he will stop the bridge from being built.
93% do not want the bridge at the Capitol. So to me, that is a very clear message, and I'm going to commit myself to opposing this and making sure it doesn't move forward.
But you paint this picture of you chained to something.
I will chain myself there.
Yes,
Brian,
but wait.
me,
Governor.
Yeah.
The only person you would chain yourself to oppose is your previous self.
I will stop those bulldozers if I have to do it in person.
But they were
Ryan.
your bulldozers.
I didn't have any bulldozers, but look.
You know what I mean.
Obviously, this is something that's been talked about since Mayor Federico Pena. There's been, always talk of a Capitol walkway. This is probably the closest it's ever come in terms of architectural rendering. But no, I'm excited to make sure that I can deliver on ensuring that there is no walkway. In many ways, Ryan, that's a lot easier than on building a walkway.
Blah, 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 blah. Politics. Do you see how quickly he politicked that?
Help me understand. Like, Ryan Warner is progressive.
Yeah.
Kyle Clark's progressive.
Yep.
These guys use the full force of their institutions and media outlets to stop this. I mean, Kyle Clark wasn't shy about this at all.
No, not at all.
I mean, he thought this thing was terrible. If you look at the articles, it was clearly an effort. I mean, this thing was motivated and delivered by progressive media outlets to stop this bridge. 94% of Coloradans would stop this bridge. The amount of energy, passion, and weight thrown to stopping this bridge. Yet, you never see that with anything that actually affects anybody. Like, a bridge was stupid. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah.
But so many other of his policies, like getting rid of the death penalty, right? You wouldn't have this James Craig trial if this was still implemented. The signing of the gun bills, the restrictions there, the increased funding and spending that this state has embraced under his governorship. The programs like preschool that has skyrocketed in costs. The lunch programs skyrocketed with costs. The wolves that are decimating ranches in the western United States. These are actually policies that affect somebody. Help me understand why you had so much passion coming from people on a bridge that, stupid, but generally didn't really affect anybody's lives. But then with all these other laws that affect our tax dollars and impact, you don't see the passion.
Well, part of it is it's an easy target. Two, it is something that is central as far as downtown Denver. So proximity helps, and greatest interest to greatest number of people as far as news values. Those are two of the most prominent ones. And when you're talking about something as far as wolves, proximity plays against it, and so does greatest interest to greatest number of people, because the large population centers in Colorado are not going to have to deal with the implications of wolves on that one. So that's part of why it's different. But also, this is an easy layup, and this is an easy one to say, see, we're doing this too. We are like you. We agree with you. And it's an easy way. The idea being that if you were trying to talk to your kids and choose where you were going to eat, choosing the type of food is much easier than the actual place. And that's kind of what it is here, that they're taking the path of least resistance, saying I can join in on this large scope thing, being that everybody's against it, versus going down. And some of the examples that you gave, also, they just don't believe in those. They feel and they want to be on the other side of those. So they won't advocate for it, but this is an easy layup. And it's really weird that this is the thing that's united so many people. In fact, in that interview you played from Ryan Warner, one of the things Polis is shocked about is that there were over 87,000 votes, including from friends of ours in Scotland. Appreciate you, Cure fan, and your sister. So that's the idea. Is he's like, normally we get like 1,500, 2,000 votes. We got 87,000. Many of us voted multiple times. I clocked in over 30. But still, that's 87,000. So he was shocked about, this people really want to see this. Yeah, this was universal. So when you have people that generate 87,000 votes on an issue, it's super easy for any possible news outlet to say, me too.
I think your analysis on let's go out to eat versus let's pick the restaurant is probably the most accurate. Because...
Hey, I got one right today.
Right? Like, the dude wants 100% clean electricity by 2040.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That is going to affect a lot of people's jobs. That's going to probably drive up everybody's rates. You're going to spend a lot more money. That is disastrous for the entire state. You're not going to see 93% pushback on that because it feels good. It's good. We're going to be clean. We're going to be a clean state. Okay?
Yeah. It depends on the
Meanwhile,
rates,
the bridge gets 93% rejection. I just wish the voters, and I wish Kyle Clark and Ryan Warner and the rest of them would take the same amount of passion towards these policies that actually affect our lives and are a lot more damaging than what a bridge would have been downtown. It was stupid. It never should have been proposed. I just wish, I just sit back here as a guy who loses on everything in the state. Doctor-assisted suicide, state gambling, abortion issues, gay marriage, trans issues, electing Republicans, about Tabor's about the only thing I'm able to hang my hat on. We're a sanctuary state, going back to last hour, on everything, the state is progressive. We get this one moment of unified effort from the media establishment to the voters of Colorado to the lawmakers. We all came together, and it was to do what? Stop a bridge. And I'm like, I just would love to see a little effort. Some of these other things that might affect your lives. Because to this point, today, you have kids from incredibly wealthy zip codes getting free lunches. Paid for by the rest of us. So, well, coming up, Bill, we'll, by the way, text us. Did you believe? I'd love to hear from, what was it, 3% that thought it was a good idea?
Yeah. Who are you people? Or did you just click the wrong thing by mistake? That's what I'm curious. Because, after I gotta admit that after about my 21st vote, it begins to blur a little bit. And you're like, oh, did I click the right thing? I mean, I made sure to click the no on the bridge, but the rest of the stuff below, because there were other choices, I don't even care anymore. Which was funny because that's one of the things that Polis talked about is, oh, people in the survey said this. I'm like, that was because it was like the least offense. That was the easiest thing for me to click.
What do you want to see next year, too? I'd love to hear that. Yeah. Bradman Polis should pull to Second Amendment issues. They funny. Do. I mean, that's part of the change of the state. Because back in 2013, you even breathed the idea of a gun restriction. You got recalled. Now, restrict all the guns and you get reelected. But what do you think the next celebration should look like? I mean, I want the state to celebrate our 150th. That's great. We're the centennial state. Founded exactly 100 years after the founding of this country. Admitted into the Union in 1876. So, what would you like to see for our 150th? I want a celebration. The bridge is stupid. But if you put $28 million, whatever amount of money they're going to put into a fireworks show, that would be awesome. Like all around the state. That would be very cool. And bands and live music and all that. That I think people would get on. Would you celebrate? Would you embrace a $28 million festivities all around the state with live music and fireworks and hot dogs and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, it depends. Again, where are we doing it? Who's playing the music? And do I get a T-shirt? Give me a T-shirt. Yeah, I'm all in on that one. Yeah. Is there something? Yeah, I might be. I might be. But again, I'm wired a little bit differently. And sometimes I think the large gatherings and things that we do and we get together, they're kind of stupid. Although concerts, things like that. So it depends. It depends on how it was executed. I'm all in favor of the idea behind it. But then again, who's on the planning committee?
That would be better than a bridge.
Oh, way better.
100%.
Way better than the stupid bridge. Yeah. And again, the bridge that they said, oh, this will increase access for the disabled. And then they didn't really talk to the disabled community about how's the bridge going to work out for you. Yeah, that's how much planning they did. And so if they did the same thing here and said, we're going to plan a 150 Colorado birthday party and a 250 USA birthday party and then not ask any of us what we want in the party, yeah, I'd probably have the same opinion. We're like, we've decided that it's all going to be done with only sparklers and those black cats. Not black cats, the snakes. We're all going to get down to Civic Center Park, and instead of doing fireworks, everyone gets one of those snakes. And you like the snakes, and we all watch them on the ground and go, and then we go home. Yeah, if that's the idea, no, count me out. But again, I'm talking about the people in charge. They thought the bridge was a good idea, so I am not above thinking that maybe they would think that instead of fireworks, we need to be safe for the environment, and we all like the little black snakes on the ground. Yeah, I can see that.
That would be lame. That would be lame.
Totally. Yeah. You think this
But
group
if
that
you
had the
invited
bridge would
so
have a
many
lame
people
party?
in, wouldn't it look like the Colorado Republican Party State Central Committee? Point of order. Point of order.
Point of order. My snake won't light. Yeah. His is longer than mine. There's a whole bunch of jokes we should add there, but we're not going to.
All right. Let's talk Black Eyed Pea. Absolutely love this restaurant. 8 locations. There's sure to be one near you. Locally owned and operated by Steve and Michelle. It's Colorado Cookout and barbecue time at the Black Eyed Pea. Their July menu is featuring backyard combos, the St. Louis rib combo or the barbecue 2-meat combo. They have barbecue pulled pork, barbecue chicken breast, and barbecue smoked sausage. It's absolutely delicious. Love it. Maybe you're hankering for a sandwich. They have a grilled barbecue Polish sausage topped with grilled onions, or you can do the tender, slow-cooked barbecue pulled pork sandwich topped with coleslaw, served on a toasted brioche bun. They do catering as well, dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event. Make it a success with Black Eyed Pea Catering. No matter what the occasion, Black Eyed Pea gift cards are always great. For your special someone, birthday favors, or holiday presents, they have you covered. I love everything about this restaurant. I know you will too. Support local, keep it in Colorado, and visit the Black Eyed Pea near you. Pete Boyles is in studio. We'll have him next. He actually met Ozzy. Crazy Train. We'll get that story next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, August 27th, join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 1595 South Colorado Boulevard in Denver. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill Show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, August 27th at IHOP.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's been a spicy morning, and the Lord's answered our prayer. Phone lines are now open. You can give us a call if you want. 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line, 720-819-5115. Now, Pete Boyles is in, and this doesn't surprise me at all, because Bill's like, hey, Pete's here. He's recording, getting ready for the show on Saturday and all that. By the way, he's hung out with Ozzy.
Yes, he did.
And then I go, hey, Pete, you hung out with Ozzy? He goes, yeah, and Marilyn Manson.
There's claims to fame, isn't it?
Yeah. So you got to give us a story. What's he like?
Well, first of all, it's good your phones are back on, so you could be a talk show that actually takes calls.
Unlike some other stations.
Wow. I mean, it's coming to an end. And actually, Billy, how old were you when you went with me on this one?
Oh, God. It's got to be...
And how old was your brother?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Because my brother is early teens, 14 or so I'm probably 25.
Yeah. And my son was... Yeah. My son might have been 12.
Yeah, Morgan's probably 12 at the time.
And my daughter was probably, 15.
Yeah.
And Barry Fay promoted something called the Ozfest. And it's infamous for... I think it's because nobody wanted Ozzy to go on other tours with them. And so he and Sharon came up with Ozfest, is what I've heard. And so he came to Mile High Stadium, and they had, I'm trying to remember, Slipknot, a band. These are people I don't even know who they were.
Yeah.
Well, part of it is that Ozzy was shut out of Lollapalooza.
That's my point. That was it.
Yep,
yeah.
It was shut out of Lollapalooza because Perry Farrell didn't want that element in his festival. And so Sharon went out and then went, I can do my own.
They did.
You know who I'm promoting? I'm promoting Ozzy, and that's exactly what they did.
And they had Marilyn Manson as their. They had Slipknot, Linkin Park. I was trying to remember these groups, and actually, I didn't know their music. I didn't know anything about them, but the kids all wanted to go, and I thought, be kind of cool experience. So we went, and it was the height of the Ramseys, and so Faye came up to me, and Faye and I were pretty tight, and he said. Marilyn Manson would like to talk to you about who killed the little girl. So we had backstage passes, Billy and his brother and my children. And so they had caterers, and they had picnic tables, and they were on the Broncos end, I think the Broncos end of the stadium. And we sat at this picnic table, and he had no eyebrows, I remember that. But I tell you what, Jeff, he was smart, way smart.
Well, to build a career like that, you have to have some intelligence.
And his dad was a minister.
Oh, I thought he was. Yeah,
his dad was his dad, and so we sat at the table and talked for an hour and a half.
And what did he want to know about the Ramsey?
I just wanted to know all of it. Who did it, what happened, everything, the ins and outs. He really was, and later I find out all these things that he allegedly did, and I didn't see it. And then he had the woman with him was Kat Von D.
Yeah, right.
She was all inked up, and and I think she came out and sat with us, and she was way smart too. And so then he said, excuse me, he said, I have to go to work. And Faye came and got me. He said, come on, he said, let's go out and sit with the sound man. And so the next thing, there's this guy that I've been talking to, like talking to you or talking to Billy.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, the curtain pulls back and he's crucified. He's up on a cross. And
the visual of that, because it's dark. And again, the time, Pete and I are working together, and there are protests outside Mile High from people protesting the fact that they're bringing Manson to town.
Yeah.
And so he's got the protesters talking about how Manson is bringing all of our kids down the path of evil. And dude opens the show as a crucifix.
Yeah,
Holy crap.
Yeah. So,
talk about a punch to the gooch. That was fantastic.
But I'd never heard Marilyn Manson's music before. I'd heard, the he had taken serial killers and movie stars or something.
Yeah, and put them together. Yeah, because I had dinner that night with Twiggy Ramirez, his guitarist. While you're out there talking to him, I'm having dinner with Twiggy. I had dinner with Twiggy Ramirez and Tony Iommi of Black Sabbath, and we're sitting on those 8-foot wooden tables like they have in cafeterias, and we're sitting on plastic chairs, paper plates, plastic silverware, and I'm sitting with legends. It's the weirdest night of my life.
Well. They had good caterers. I mean, they had good food.
That food was on point.
Faye was a food geek, and so the food was great. So then we went back after the first 2 or 3 songs, and Faye said, "You know who really wants to talk to you?" And I said, at this point, and he said, "Ozzy." And I said, the same topic was the Manson, listen to me, the Ramsey family, because it was lead story almost every night. There'd be another turn in that story. And so that's when we actually I went into the stadium underneath where the Broncos would get ready, get dressed. And he said, come with me. And my daughter was with me. And we walked in, and here's this little bitty guy. He was on a Stairmaster, for real, and he was watching National Geographic on the TV that was in front of him on the Stairmaster. And my grandma was born in Ireland. He looked like my grandma. And when I heard Billy earlier say that his language wasn't what it was, Billy, I got to tell you, my experience with the guy was every other word, and.
That was the story from the producers of the show.
I talk like this to you, and but he kept going on the Stairmaster, and we talked, and he got off the Stairmaster and had a towel around his neck, and we talked about what I thought had taken place, and and he was smart. I mean, and I say the same. Marilyn Manson was like way smart, and so he said. Then somebody came in and. His wife, Sharon, ran that whole show. And he flew in that morning. And they limoed him to Mile High Stadium. He said, "No, I got you, and I went, okay. And I went with Faye again. We went out and sat with the mixers. And they opened, I think, with Iron Man.
Yeah, I think so.
And Iron Man was the run-in music of the Road Warriors, my favorite professional wrestling tag team, and they went, and the crowd went nuts. And he was, they're different guys. They're performers. And Marilyn Manson, clearly, had gone from this guy to that guy, but later when you read about what's happened recently, you think, well, maybe not. But Ozzy clearly goes and turns himself into this other guy, and like wrestlers, pro wrestlers. And
it's like the lights go on, and
I really
hits
thought
it.
so.
Yeah.
I really, really thought so. But my impression, and when he died, I thought, no, that's sad. He was. I don't know if he was the guy that everybody thought he was, which. Yeah,
was he still married to Sharon at the end?
Yeah. Sharon's his rock. Sharon is the boss. Sharon's got the great ideas. Sharon's behind Osbourne's.
Her dad was the promoter. He was a Barry Fay guy in England.
Oh, yeah.
And I talked to him for a while, and I heard talking about snorting ants. And, all the other kind of stuff.
The whole story about that one, we can't do it on the air, but what happened prior to the ant snorting is even more disgusting.
But whether or not it was a work or a shoot, no one ever knew. But he certainly he knew how to promote himself.
Yeah, he did, and he knew who he was, and he had a definite vision, and he understood. What I appreciate about him is he understood the performance aspect of being the Prince of Darkness, but he didn't walk forward and think, hey, I'm the Prince of Darkness. It wasn't the idea. That wasn't him, but he understood the persona when he got on stage. And when we saw him at Ozfest, the thing that I remember is, again, Ozzy's older at that time, but he's still out there and he is nailing it. But he can't run across the stage like he used to, and so it's kind of a slow shuffle, and he'd slowly shuffle to one side of the stage. He'd reach down and he'd grab a black bucket and pour water over his head, and then he'd go to the microphone and start singing, and then after a while he'd start drying off, shuffle to the other side of the stage, another bucket's been filled, the roadie on the other side of the stage fills the original bucket, pours the water over his head, and starts singing again. And so that was his pattern back and forth, and it was really fun to watch. He was incredible.
Like I said, I didn't know much about those guys at all, Jeff. And so to me, it was Brave New World.
Right.
I'm an old guy.
I'm like Slipknot, Manson, Oz. I'm in heaven.
I played country music with your father,
right.
And
it's a different level of performance, too.
Yeah.
I wasn't even a born-again Christian. I remember I went to a Gwar show and a Marilyn Manson show, and I was like,
what did you think?
Not sure I should be in this room.
Gwar is interesting. That's an interesting
Marilyn
experience.
Manson was dark, right? And you kind of get the sense like, oh, it's dark. Gwar was like, we're going to take everything that's sacred to anybody and just push it 100 miles past the line.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, can we literally be the most offensive thing you've ever seen in your entire life?
I mean, they show up in like molded costumes, and they take on a persona, and they squirt fake blood all over the place and stuff.
Oh, it's worse than blood.
Oh no, they do a lot of it. Yeah, I've seen Gwar. They're a mess, and you don't sit close. Yeah,
but it was the Insane Clown Posse.
Oh, they're weird.
And did you ever see these guys?
I've seen them live. They're weird.
There's all these little subsets of music, and people like identify with it, and they make it so much a part of their persona.
I can go hard on the Insane Clown Posse. They're juggalos, and it's the Faygo soda that they squirt on each other at the end. And so, we can go hard on those too. I've got the first 4 albums from the Insane Clown Posse.
And Bill is just the type of guy that's just comfortable in all those.
Yeah, I'm like,
he just wanders from one to the next.
I've been at a Marilyn Manson concert, and I've been at a Peter, Paul, and Mary concert. That's the broad spectrum of
Have
the
you
concerts
been
I've
to
hit
a Michael W. Smith concert?
No, haven't done the Michael W.
We'll
Smith
take
stuff.
you to Contemporary Christian.
Yeah, no, haven't done that one.
That might be the one place where Bill feels a little uncomfortable.
I did a show with, I think it was Stryper.
Yeah, Stryper. They're interesting.
And they were great. They came in
they're
and
really good.
did the show with us, and I thought they were well put together. It was a very constructed crew, and they knew what they were doing. I don't know.
A question to you two, though, who've been attending these shows throughout the journey. It seems like they've really changed. Like what Metallica did at Mile High. I only go to like maybe one concert a year, and it's typically Keith Urban because my wife loves it. But these are big productions. I mean, Taylor Swift, it's multi-day. It's $200 to get a ticket.
Yeah.
That seems to have has that changed? Over the years.
I knew Faye well, and we would go to concerts together. He'd say, "Come on, go with me," but I like it was backstage, and everybody always thought what was going on backstage. Right. It was accountants, and
it wasn't
caterers,
parties,
I mean, they didn't mess around. Security guys. The first act that we ever emceed, Bob and I, when we were working with your dad, was David Allan Coe.
Yeah.
And if you don't know David Allan Coe, well, and it was in Boulder. And then we did Charlie Daniels. We did a lot of that stuff. Merle Haggard. Yeah. And that was, they were who they were.
But these artists these days, don't they make most of their money on these tours now?
They make all of it on the tour. Because what's happened is, it used to be, now when we go back to when we're growing up, back in the old days, we're talking about, 60s, 70s, 80s,
selling
and early
records.
90s. Yeah. Is selling, you would go on tour to support the record because the record is what made you the money. Now you can't make money on records. Now you release a record to tour. The record supports the tour, where it used to be the tour supports the record. Yeah. The industry is completely flipped 180 degrees, and that's why you have seats for the upcoming concert, Paul McCartney, down at Coors, going for $4,000. Is because that's how they have to make the cash. So that's where, when you're sitting there going, why did prices at concerts get so expensive? It's because we've taken away the music revenue stream. They no longer make any money there, so they have to make it on your butts in the seats. And that's why they have multiple day shows. That's why they have multiple screens. That's why they fill stadiums. Butts in the seats.
Well, I just, from back when until now, and Bob Lee and Hal Moore and those guys, they would put on record hops and record shows. And Bob, of course, was in Detroit, very, very close to Berry Gordy. So they would send Stevie Wonder to go work with Bob.
Ooh, yeah.
Or the Tops or the Temps or somebody, and they're selling records. They're not really looking for, because the jock's getting the money at the door. Yeah. And no, it's when we worked.
Yeah.
And we used to do those things like back, with your dad and everybody, all the beer you can drink for $1. And have a live band.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're
Right.
not going to, no. And we did plenty of those shows. And
That's Peter Boyles. He's live in studio with us. We're talking Ozzy Osbourne, who he's meant. We'll continue this conversation. Let's talk Cato's Coffee, proud sponsor of the Jeff and Bill Show. Great coffee. It's delicious. Lots of different flavor options for you there. If you go to catoscoffee.com, KATOSKOFFEE.com, Cato's Coffee, KATOSKOFFEE.com. And if you use Jeff and Bill 10, no spaces, you'll get 10% off. Here's some of the flavors they have: Ethiopian Natural House Blend, a Bali Blue, Gourmet Donut Shop, Colombian Coffee, Cinnabon Coffee, Mexican Chocolate, Asian Plateau Blend, French Roast. I mean, it just goes and goes. Hunters, I can't even get to the bottom of the page. They have so many coffee options for you. And when you go purchase coffee from them, a portion goes to support animals out there. Great company, catoscoffee.com, KATOSKOFFEE.com. Jeff and Bill 10 to save 10%. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Live in studio, Peter Boyle's talking about his experience with Ozzy Osbourne. Text messages coming in. We lost one of the greatest guitar players of all time, saying Gabe.
It was Roy Clark.
Peter saying Peter met Ozzy at Ozfest.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Bill, Billy, will you talk about your ties to Barry Fay?
Not the tight ones that Pete had, but going down there picking up tickets. It got me into a number of shows.
Yeah.
It just, the thing that Fay had a huge personality. He was always someone that it was the idea that as you were around Barry, you were just in his orbit. That was one of the first times that I kind of experienced that idea of someone that was in that realm and in that world. And I have a number of people that worked for Fay that have gone on to have wonderful careers inside the music industry and promotions.
Pete's going to have open lines Saturday, 9 to 1. Call in, talk to him about that.
And then I'll talk to you guys from Sturgis.
Yes, next week, right?
Next week.
Or week after?
Yes. I'll be up there on the 1st of August.
You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
We are Denver's talk leader. This is 710 KNUS.